During the E3 trailer for Breath of the Wild, we got our first look at many of the game's landmarks. The decrepit ruins of the ancient Temple of Time, the swirling, corrupted Hyrule Castle, and the barren, silent Hebra Peak, a mountain with a perfectly circular chunk missing from its side. And the stories behind these places in Breath of the Wild are told or implied during the game. The Temple of Time is a relic from a kingdom long dead. Hyrule Castle is the tortured capital of the land, choked by the infestation of Calamity Ganon. But the story of Hebra Peak's strange circular hole is never told. What could punch through the face of a mountain, leaving behind a perfectly circular wound boring straight through the peak? In the far northwest of Hyrule lies the Hebra region, a barren land perpetually enshrouded in a thick cloak of snow, fog and frost. The region hides various secrets: volcanic hot springs, winter cabins, the skeleton of a great whale-like creature, all nested between the peaks of the freezing mountains. The tallest of these mountains is Hebra Peak, the central summit for which the region is named, containing a shrine, a handful of Koroks, and featuring one of the stranger mysteries in the game: the mountain is missing a circular chunk. This circular wound is never explained, despite being visible from across the kingdom. Let's look into what we know about this cavity and piece together its story. The hole in Hebra Peak punches through the southwestern side of the mountain, cutting the entire way through the rock, forming a tunnel. Whatever punctured the mountain in this way must have brought a monumental amount of force. There's no visible rubble or crumbling of the summit. Whatever hit the mountain travelled entirely through it with surgical precision. Initially, this sort of scar looks like it could be the result of an asteroid or comet, the evidence of a celestial body having smashed through the peak before landing in the Hebra region. A large enough asteroid would likely be able to travel through the mountainside. We can see large craters in areas of Hyrule like the Giza crater, left behind by other large asteroids in Hyrule's past. But an asteroid or another natural cause wouldn't explain this scar. The hole in Hebra Peak isn't natural by any means. Not only is it perfectly circular, cutting the entire way through the rock without damaging the rest of the mountain, the inside of the hole seems to be made of a different material, glacial or crystalline. The rock here, as well as being a strange translucent blue, appears to be igneous, rock which has formed from the cooling of lava. It's as if whatever tore through this mountain was not only perfectly circular, but also some form of powerful energy. The only clues the game gives as to the cause of this hole are what we can see: this strange surface of the rock within it and the circular nature of the tunnel. But creating a champion gives us a little more to work with in the form of a quote by Breath of the Wild's landscape artist Yohei Izumi, a man who's also worked on games like Phantom Hourglass and Skyward Sword. Izumi mentions that, when designing the mountain, he wanted to include a scar from the battle against Calamity Ganon 10,000 years ago. So the mountain was damaged 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild, if Izumi is to be believed. Which makes sense. We can see that by the time of the game, the circular hole has become worn with age, though its original shape is still clear. And knowing when this chunk of rock was destroyed helps us understand how it could have happened. 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild, the Kingdom of Hyrule fell into a war with the fiery malice of Calamity Ganon. But the return of this evil had been foretold, and in preparation the Sheikah tribe constructed a legion of powerful machines, the tank-like Guardians and the 4 colossal divine beasts. Alongside the era's hero and Hyrule's princess, the Sheikah's weapons were able to oppose the threat, and after a fierce battle, the beast was sealed once more. So it was during this conflict in which Hebra Peak was damaged, a perfectly circular hole which appears to have been burned into the mountain. Could Hebra Peak have been hit by a divine beast laser? The Sheikah Guardians are all equipped with a powerful beam weapon, able to fire blasts of concentrated energy. The divine beasts are no different, though these lasers, just like the beasts themselves, are far larger than their Guardian counterparts. The Divine Beast's lasers are used at the end of Breath of the Wild with pinpoint accuracy, flooding Hyrule Castle and causing immense damage to Calamity Ganon, scorching him with sacred energy. After freeing each Divine Beast from the influence of the Blight Ganons, they take aim at Hyrule Castle, moving into position and setting up a tracking pointer at the Citadel, holding Calamity Ganon in their sights and waiting for Link. But if these Divine Beasts were on a battlefield, forced to fire at the Calamity without taking aim, it's possible that they could miss their target entirely. A gigantic beam of pure energy set loose across Hyrule. What else would be powerful enough to tear through thousands of tons of stone with ease, leaving behind a scorched circular wound, the inside of which is stained a magical blue? If the scar on Hebra Peak was in fact caused by a Divine Beast's frantic laser, fired 10,000 years before the game, it would have been fired from the spot in which the battle took place against Calamity Ganon. And the hole in Hebra Peak is visible only from the right angle, which means we can actually try and pinpoint where the laser was fired from. And one of the areas from which we can easily see the scarred peak is Hyrule Field, the very centre of the map, where the game's final battle takes place. What if, when Link mounts his horse, wields the Bow of Light, and takes on the purest incarnation of hatred and malice, he's unknowingly fighting in the exact same place where, 10,000 years earlier, it was previously defeated? Just like the tapestry seems to show, perhaps the battle took place in the exact same spot in which you fight Dark Beast Ganon. Following in the footsteps of his ancestors, the hero and the princess again vanquish the timeless evil. A century after her powers first awakened, Zelda purges the malice with the sacred energy of her bloodline, just as her predecessor had in the same place millennia earlier. Thanks for watching this little video. If you liked it, leave a like, it really helps the channel out, or subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. The past few weeks have been insanely busy for me, so expect more frequent content from here on out. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.